Now, infrastructure isn't just about roads and bridges. It's a driver of jobs, investments, and long-term growth. Right now, the Philippines is in the middle of an ambitious transport build-out, from our first ever subway to a 147-kilometer commuter railway linking Clark to Calamba, and the much-needed rehabilitation of EDSA, our main urban thoroughfare. These projects are designed to make commutes faster, logistics cheaper, and connectivity stronger across Metro Manila and beyond. Joining us now is Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon to talk about the timelines, the bottlenecks, and the opportunities ahead for Philippine infrastructure. Hi, Sec. Vince. Welcome to Business 360.
Thank you, Mikey, for having me.
Okay, so congratulations on a relatively hitch-free Holy Week. It's the busiest time. It was the busiest time traditionally for the commuter network, and no major hitches.
Well, as you know, our president's first instructions to me, personally, as well as to the entire cabinet, was to really make the commuter experience more convenient and safer. And right before Holy Week, he gave very important instructions to everybody, to all agencies throughout the government, to make sure that we all work together to make this Holy Week, which is, as you said, traditionally the heaviest and busiest of the year.
For land, air, and sea.
Especially across all sectors of transportation, land, air, and sea. And it's something that we worked hard to do, and thankfully, there were no major incidents, but still a lot of things to improve on.
Yes, a lot of things to improve on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so global institutions like the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, the ADB, the consensus is, and obvious, that car-centric cities are not sustainable. In 2025, how car-centric would you say the Philippines is, and what's being done to change this?
I think it's still one of the most car-centric major cities in the world. Unfortunately, Mikey, because it's only now that we're really starting to build up all the mass transit infrastructure that should actually have been built decades ago. And it's quite sad because we were actually one of the first in Asia to have mass transit. We were the first country in Asia to have a major railway. This was during the Spanish colonial period, where we had the Mortis to Bicol railway already, even during the Spanish colonial times, and yet we've not been able to maintain it, to develop it, and to expand it throughout these years. And I think now is about time that we do.
That tide is changing.
Yes,
You've got three
hopefully.
short years, especially when you talk infrastructure. This takes decades to build. Going back to improvements in what we have, the rehabilitation of EDSA, that's a major overhaul project. After nearly 5 decades, we're going to see some work on this. It's going to be massive. Can you tell us more about this?
You know, the president gave us very clear instructions. The last major work that's been done on EDSA was done in the early 80s. And this is 45 years ago, during the time of the president's father, President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. And the president said, now is the time not just to do the usual patchwork on EDSA, the usual reblocking and all of that, but now it's time to overhaul, to really build better,
You're changing
more.
the structure
Absolutely.
from north to south.
Absolutely.
What's that going to entail, and how is it going to, when it's done, alleviate traffic?
It's going to entail a lot of work across multiple agencies, obviously led by the DPWH. It's the first major overhaul of this major artery, or the major artery of the metropolis, since the 80s. It's going to be difficult. We're going to expect a lot of pain in the next year and a half to 2 years. But after that, malaking ginhawa, Mikey. It's going to be a totally different EDSA than we've experienced.
5 lanes on EDSA.
Yes.
1 for buses, the 4 for cars. Now, with this rehabilitation, those lanes drop down to how many?
Yes, because the methodology is going to be going lane by lane. So they're going to start with the inner lanes. So that's the current busway lane. So the current busway lane is going to move 1 lane out. It will still be dedicated. So for all our commuters out there who depend
busway will still
on the
be
busway,
there.
the busway will continue in its present form. It's just going to be moved 1 lane out, both north and south. So there will be 3 lanes left for for cars. But we think that we think that we'll be able to mitigate that by doing other mitigating interventions, which we'll be announcing maybe in the next week
How
or so.
much, it's going to take 1.5 to 2 years to finish, so we'll have that pain for that period.
Yes.
Afterwards, how much different will EDSA be?
Oh, it's going to be very different. First of all, the DPWH is going to overlay the entire EDSA, not just patches of it, but the entire EDSA from Monumento all the way to Pasay will be asphalted. So it's going to be a smooth ride. And plus, we're also, as you said earlier, we've got to make Metro Manila more commuter-friendly, more people-centric rather than just being simply car-centric. So we also want to expand the current sidewalks on EDSA. So this will allow people to walk short distances without fear of getting run over, which is what's happening right now.
Yeah, in order to make the Metro Manila, the Philippines, more commuter-friendly, what are the tough decisions that we need to make in the government in order to make this happen?
That's a tough question, Mikey. There are a lot of tough decisions, but I think the tough decisions start with a change in mindset. Right now, the mindset is still the solution to traffic is bigger and wider roads. What we've seen in other countries and in their experiences, that's not necessarily the case. And in some cases, wider roads actually lead to more traffic because it makes cars go into these wider roads, which congests them even further. I think the long-term solution, and when I say long-term, because these mega projects, the ones you mentioned earlier, the subway, the new metro railways, these take time. And these sometimes, in our case, take decades to get built.
Yeah.
So we've got to make tough decisions that the ultimate solution is really mass transit. High capacity mass transit is the solution to traffic. It's not going to be wider roads, it's not going to be more roads, but it's going to be more high capacity transport systems, which we are in the midst of building right now.
Fantastic. Okay, let's talk about those projects. The Unified Grand Central Station, the so-called Common Station, which it's going to be the bridge. It's going to link
Yes.
LRT1, MRT3, and MRT7. Where are we there?
Well, unfortunately, we're still not there after more than a decade. I think the idea for the Common Station started in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. It's already 2025. It's still not built. It's very disappointing that despite all the efforts, it's still unfinished. So we're already in the midst of terminating the current contract so that we can restart and finish this once and for all. And looking at the timelines, as you said, I think we're quite confident that this will finally get built and finished and be used by our commuters before the end of President Bongbong Marcos's term.
Okay.
And this is really a huge achievement because it will connect not just LRT1 and MRT3, which is such a pain point right now for our commuters.
It's going to fix that
but
choke point.
MRT7, again, started in, I think, 2009, is finally going to be finished. Mr. Ramon Ang of San Miguel Corporation already committed that we're going to start running MRT7 as early as late 2026 or early 2027. So we're very excited for that, especially for our commuters.
Another big ticket project, Metro Manila Subway. It's going to be the first of its kind in the country. This is going to be fully completed by 2032, you think?
Unfortunately, it's going to be completed later. I think it's delayed by at least 2 years. But, we just have to focus and just make sure that we get all the right-of-way in place because the contractors are already there. I was in one segment last week, the one run by Sumitomo of Japan, along Camp Aguinaldo, the one that stretches from Anonas all the way to Ortigas. And they're there. They're fully mobilized.
Yeah.
All the government needs to do is provide them the
500 billion peso
Yes.
project funded by JICA.
Absolutely.
We just need to put everything into play. But your biggest issues, are they right-of-way issues?
Right-of-way is always the biggest issue, both for the train from Calamba to Clark, as well as the subway. So government really just has to focus. We have to focus on giving the right-of-way to the contractors so that they can just go full speed ahead.
Okay, fantastic. Now we're going to be taking a quick break. Business 360 is going to be right back. Keep it here for our discussion with Secretary Vince Dizon. Welcome back to Business 360, where we continue our discussion with Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon. So much to talk about, so little time. Just like your tenure, you've got 3 years and you've got so much work to do. Just before the commercial break, we were talking about the 500 billion peso subway project. Tell us about phase one.
So phase one is a 35-kilometer segment from East Valenzuela in the north all the way to NAIA 3. So it's really going to be a game changer for everyone who's going to be traveling from the north all the way to Taguig to Makati. Now, the key here is interconnectivity. The subway cannot exist just as the subway. It's got to be connected to all the other stations so that people can connect to wherever they want to go, just like how we do it abroad in the more modern and more developed mass transit systems. So that's what we're trying to do. For example, if you're going to be working from traveling from the north all the way to BGC, then it's going to be less than 20 minutes, Mikey, from Valenzuela all the way to BGC, to your call center office in BGC. That's a game changer. Now it will take you, on a bad day, it will probably take you 2 hours to go from Valenzuela to
imagine
to
the
BGC.
amount of time it's going to cut and cost.
The cost and time, and just time for our commuters to spend more time with their families, to be able
and
to...
more productivity.
And to
we
be
really
more
want to
productive.
increase and unlock the productivity.
Absolutely.
So people from BGC can get people that work from
Yes,
further out and really open up even other arteries for growth in the Philippines once we get this connectivity in place.
And not just the subway, the railway from Clark to Manila, which is, by the way, we're just resurrecting a railway that used to exist. No, we used to have the first railway in Asia. And for me, it's actually quite personal, Mikey, because I live in Pampanga and I do a daily commute.
Yes.
It takes me minimum 2 hours one way. So it's 4 hours every day for me.
Yeah, the NCR project, it's a passion project for
Absolutely.
you, especially because you live in Pampanga.
Absolutely. I go through that every day. Our people who travel from Pampanga, Bulacan, they work in Metro Manila, easily 2 hours.
Your commute specifically is 2 hours
2 hours
each way.
one way.
How would this NCR project railway change that?
I will not use my car anymore, Mikey. You know, the Manila to Clark railway is going to take people from Pampanga, Bulacan to Metro Manila in less than an hour. If you're from Bulacan, it will take you 30 minutes from Malolos all the way to Metro Manila. So that commute is just a game changer because now people, if you need to rent in Metro Manila to avoid the commute of 2 hours, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just imagine the amount of savings, the amount of quality time spent with family, and the amount of productivity that we can gain from all these transportation projects. But we have to finish them once and for all.
Absolutely. There is talk of redesigning transport and digital infrastructure as critical, meaning insulated from political and policy changes. Are you in favor of this push? You know,
I was with Secretary Henry Aguda. We inspected MRT together. And you know, the collaboration that we're going to be doing together is really going to change the commuting experience of our people, even right now. No? So I think to cast these plans in stone is really the right way to go.
Yeah,
because
it
again,
takes time,
it takes time.
Commitment.
Absolutely.
And we need to go all in.
Yeah, and digital infrastructure is so critical to transportation infrastructure and to daily life.
Yeah.
So we've really got to get that going, and I think we have the right leader in Secretary Henry Aguda to make this happen.
So much to do, so little time. What excites you about what's ahead over the next 3 years? I mean, there is what you do in the government, and there's also, the dire need to collaborate with the private sector.
Absolutely.
What's any collaborations ahead that are, that are really going to change the game and make the Philippines more commuter friendly? You know,
I think the policy tone and the policy pronouncements of the president at the beginning of his term to really involve the private sector and really prioritize public-private partnerships is really the way to go, especially for transportation infrastructure. So we're very excited about MRT 7 opening up. The improvements in NAIA are already being felt. We felt them during the Holy Week. You know, the improvements, the efficiency gains, of San Miguel Corporation because of their hard work there and because of the collaboration we had with Bureau of Immigration and all the other government agencies has really made the commute and the passenger experience of our people so much better than they were last year.
The need is there.
The need is there.
The need is totally there. But for the people that are resistant to this change, jeepney modernization and a modernization in particular for this transport system, a lot of people are resistant to it because they think it's going to affect their livelihoods.
Absolutely.
What would you like to say to them?
I think what is important is that these changes, these ways of modernizing our public transport infrastructure does not affect the daily earnings of the people in the sector. That's why we're reviewing very, very intensely the PUV modernization program. Because if it results in lower incomes, then it will not work, Mikey. It's got to work economically for the people within the sector. So this is something that we've got to work on. And this is something that we're confident that we can fix as we progress and as we modernize.
Okay, another question that hits home to a lot of people that traveled by air over the Holy Week period. NAIA is operating beyond its capacity.
Yes.
Are we investing to rehabilitate it, or are we moving forward more with other alternatives
We're doing
like
both.
Bulacan and Sangli?
We're doing both. And the beauty of San Miguel Corporation operating NAIA and also building the new Metro Manila, the new Manila International Airport in Bulacan, is that they can smoothly and seamlessly transition from the rehabilitation of NAIA, which is for 15 years under the current concession agreement, into obviously the bigger and much, much better Bulacan International, the new Manila International Airport, which is in Bulacan. So that coupled with Clark, which is also operated by the private sector and which is doing very, very well under the consortium of JG Summit, Philinvest, and Changi of Singapore. I think those airports working together are going to make air travel, really world-class in the coming years. We have to just trust and work with the private sector, and I think they're going to be able to improve all of this in the coming years, and something really to look forward to.
Okay, lastly, speaking of the work with the private sector, I know you've got one really exciting project on the docket. You can't give specifics, but what can you tell us about this collaboration with one of the major firms in the country?
I think the key to our railway, our metro rails, not just in Metro Manila, but even in Cebu and the Davao bus system we're building in Davao in Mindanao, is that PPPs are critical to making these projects not only built well, but also run properly. I think that is where government lacks in experience and ability. Is really in operating and maintaining these major infrastructure projects, which the private sector does very well. So a lot of things excited about. I can't give details for Metro Manila yet, but there will be a lot of PPPs coming up for railways in Metro Manila.
Okay, and on a lighter note, you were former BCDA chairman and you did great things in Clark. What lessons have you learned from, what major takeaway did you take from that post that you're applying right now as a Transportation Secretary?
I think it's really building and planning for people instead of building and planning for cars. I think that's been the major problem that not only the Philippines has had over the past years, but also every other major city in the world has had. But they've shown us the way. They've shown us that building high-capacity mass transit, building more walkways for people to walk, for people to bike, is really the way to go. The solution does not lie in building more roads and wider roads. The solution lies in building high-capacity infrastructure for the commuters. And I think that's where we're headed. And thankfully, we've learned from the experiences of other countries. And hopefully, we just got to keep on pushing and make these projects a reality sooner than later.
Well, we're excited for that. We're excited for the energy and the vigor that you bring to the table
and
for the work that you're going to put forward over these next 3 years, maybe, hopefully even longer.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Thank you, Secretary
Thank you
Vince
so much.
Dizon.